actually going to do live streams to LinkedIn.
Oh, interesting. I feel the pressure now. People could be watching us.
I don't think we get too many on the live stream. I don't really track it as much as I could. Let's see here. All right.
Interesting.
I'm going to put a little clap here, so I've got an audio marker for editing. Welcome to the Alternative Investing Club. Today is November 20th, 2024, and we have a special guest, Daniel Brown. For those of you who are new to this show, this is a show that helps individuals invest in communities and private-based business, real estate, and other types of private placement investments. And so today we have a special guest, Daniel Brown. He's got a wealth of knowledge on various topics, including some that he helps people with on health and well-being. So Daniel, why don't you tell us, why don't you start off with what you do currently in terms of investment, and then we'll go more into how that's affected by lifestyle.
Great. Thanks for having me on. I feel the healthy pressure now. Now you said a wealth of knowledge. So let me see what I can pull out from my brain. So the weird accent, I do live in Austin, Texas. I know it's not a Texas accent. Originally from the UK, emigrated about 10 years ago. And my core business from an investing point of view is residential real estate. Over the years, I've worked through flips and rentals and single family and multifamily, but our core business now at Brownstone is single family construction of spec homes. So I broadly, generously call it middle market, which we've done stuff in and around Central Texas, kind of like up to an hour from Austin, from $400,000 retail to nearly 2.5 million and everything in between. So it's just not ultra high end, and it's not what you'd call true ultra affordable. It's kind of everything else. Really open to it. And our model's really simple. We speculatively take down small pieces of land. If it's in the city center, it's most commonly 7 to 14,000 square foot lots, classic small lots near a downtown. Usually there's a little old shack on there that needs just leaning on it or fall down. Get rid of that. And then we have a really cool process. We do an awful lot in-house. So we design each home in-house. We pull in an architect because I don't know how to make sure a house doesn't fall down. They do. But all the rest of the design piece is us. And we design, although it's spec, we design each home like it's custom. So we're imagining, the potential buyer, what they need, what they're going to want, and every home is individually developed. And we build 1, 2, or 3 homes on a lot, which I'll explain a bit more. It's like an Austin quirk. If you don't know Austin, you think that sounds strange, but I can explain it in a minute. We design the homes, we put in for permitting, we build the homes because we are the GC. We don't have the trades in-house. We like the flexibility of working with different subcontractors and different suppliers and so on. But we're the GC managing each project. And we have a realtor with us throughout the journey, giving us guidance on what they're seeing in the market currently. And then we sell the house at the other end. And it's a simple, buy, design, build, sell, and just keep that turning. And then just keep reinvesting as much as we can and go do it again.
You know,
And then
I, I
the
I like a couple of the things that you just said there because so many people that are building nowadays, they'll go through and they'll get, two, three, four, five plans approved, and they just do them over and over and over. And you see these cookie cutter,
yeah,
subdivisions where every house looks exactly the same, and there's no differentiation. Why did you decide to individually design each house, and um, how does that affect, the investment that goes into it and your work that goes into it? I have to say I like the idea, but how does it affect you on a business level to
yeah,
do
it's a
that?
really good question. I guess it was like a push and a pull. So before I ever hit Austin, I had this desire to elevate the quality and design of homes anyway. I felt like I was seeing too much on the market. You'd be on Zillow, flicking through homes in a price point, and you'd be going, yep, that's a builder, that's a builder. And because they were boring and the same, and it was that cookie
Yeah.
cutter kind of approach. And I wanted to create the homes where somebody'd go, ooh. So it's kind of purely subjective measure, but I think I know when someone's going to go, ooh. And that's what we shoot for because I want to separate from the competition. I enjoy design. I feel like the buyer deserves better. And it
Mm.
doesn't actually have to cost more. It does, what you were alluding to, mean maybe more time and effort, which I'll come back to. And then I guess that's maybe the push. The pull is also the fact that when I don't know every city well, but a lot are like Austin. When you're dealing with a city centre, which a number of our homes are, and you're dealing with very small lots, you've also got to make every square foot count. You're not just building on a random acre out in the middle of nowhere and you can do whatever you want. You've got the room. Here it's like, oh, I can build 2,741 square feet on that particular lot. If we're going to get the best exit at the other end, we need to build 2,741 square feet. So we've got, but the lot's a funny shape. It's like a trapezium. So we've got to start playing around with every little detail. Oh, there's a big tree, so we'll have to go up a bit more. So you're almost forced to as well. So if you blend the two together, we've got to make the most out of that piece of land. And we want to try and deliver something that's custom or custom feeling, then that's what you do. But your question is sound. In simplistically, it could appear inefficient. We have to put more time, energy, and effort into design within our own team, and we actually work as well with my wife's company, a separate company, but she's the designer in the world. I learned from her, so I'm pretty good. She's really good. So we're starting to outsource more of that to her. So we go deeper into that nitty gritty, but then we have some clever systems and processes where we kind of know, let's just say, think of an example. I'm looking at my own windows right now. So we might know, okay, windows. These are our various go-to windows from these one or two key suppliers. And in a heartbeat, we can say it's version 3. That's what's right for this house. And that was all it took. It took a moment of understanding what's the right look and feel. And then we know it's version 3. And then the plans go off to the window guy, and the window guy does a full, quote for us based on version 3, whatever that might be. We have a lot of pieces of the jigsaw that are like that, where we know what we like and we know what can work well to then make it more efficient. It still takes longer than a cookie cutter, but not crazy longer. But we believe at the other end, the extra time we've spent, or if you give a cost of that extra money we've spent on that time, comes back in spades because we're creating a nicer home, which either sells for more or sells quicker or both,
Quicker.
which, yeah, is obviously
Yeah,
vital.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, not to mention the fact that you're putting something out into the community that I think frankly has more value, in a long term, or at least there's something to, having aesthetics be a part of our everyday life
Oh,
that adds
yes.
value and not just living in, something that borders on brutalistic architecture where it's just the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah,
And
efficiency and beauty can be brought together beautifully. So we like to try and do both.
right. You mentioned the laws in Austin.
Mm.
And I think Texas right now is actually a really good place to invest in because, first of all, you have not only population growth that is going there, there's a lot of incoming people coming into Texas currently, but you also have laws that are aligning to help that population find, good housing. Can you tell us a little bit about the laws that are current in Austin that might be attractive to investors?
Yeah, so I'll go two different sides. One is what we like about Austin specifically as the developer, the builder, is they first put in a law about 10 years ago that simplistically said, in most situations, there's always exceptions, in most situations, without too many hoops, you can now build two houses on a small lot because we know the population is exploding. We have to address the density issue. So go build two houses. So you don't have to have the lot subdivided. You don't have to have special permissions, special permits for that. It's just a normal permit process. And you sell building 1 and building 2 off the same lot. You might split them with a fence. They might have a shared driveway initially. And then you just have like an HOA agreement, like it's a condo, 2 condos. And that takes care of how you do that. And they've made life very easy for us. And now thousands and thousands of homes have been sold under that model. Then they upgraded that a year ago and said, we still need more to handle the density. You know what? Go do 3 homes if you want to. And you can build even more total square footage per lot with those 3 homes. Again, encouraging us to go and build 3 homes on a lot. And there's even less restrictions now within that. We can do kind of any size combination we like. So, for example, we have a lot under contract right now where using the new rules, we can build 3 homes to a total of almost 7,000 square feet on this lot. And then we're deciding how we split that up. So we're going to do like a larger house, a mid-sized house, and a smaller house. They're not in competition with each other then when we hit the market. but we're able to hit 3 homes in one go, very efficient, very effective, actually brings our costs down, our efficiency up. And it's what Austin needs because people keep moving here. And on the other side of things, obviously you've got no state income tax. You've got a lot of support for business in general. One of the reasons big companies keep moving here and individuals keep moving here. Um, the weather is great, so that's very attractive to people. Um, and you look at some of the forecasts, and so many of the biggest growth forecasts in small and large towns and cities across the country are Texas. And there's Dallas and Austin kind of stand out at the top of most of that, or some of the small towns are on the periphery of those big cities. And there's every reason to believe the growth here will just continue. It's been immense for about 15 years. And every bit of data I see, and I know I'm biased, obviously, I've got a leaning towards this place. But every bit of data I see and logic says that that'll just keep moving. It's a great place to be.
When you are financing these projects,
Hmm,
let's move a little bit over there just to because there are investors that listen to this and they want to
sure.
understand the financing that goes into these. Are these homes individually financed? Are they financed? Do you have a fund that allows you to deploy financing into multiple projects? How exactly do how exactly do investors go into these projects? How do you
Hmm.
put your money into these projects, and what's the financial structure around it?
It's a good question. Let me try and be efficient. So we do what we do ourselves in-house anyway, a certain amount of self-funding, and then we always use a construction loan for efficiency because construction loans are amazing, and it means that with the same pot of money at the beginning, I can go and build on 3 or 4 lots rather than one lot by leveraging using construction loans. Really, really powerful and effective, and that helps us get growth. And in
That's an
total,
interesting point right there. So
yeah,
all three lots you can address with a single construction loan. You don't have to
yes.
individually finance them.
No, if you're doing 3 homes on one lot, it's one construction loan. The lender wants to know, break the 3 homes that we're going to see in a year's time down for us, help us understand that so we can appraise and be happy that you know what you're doing. But ultimately, it's a loan
Hmm.
on that lot that will end up with 3 homes. So we love that. And that means, if I was doing it all cash, I could buy one lot today and build 3 houses. But if I leverage it, maybe I can go and buy 3 lots and do 9 houses. And yes, I make less on each one because, of course, of the interest cost of that loan. But across the three combined, we make even more or even more successful. And I like the diversification with spreading the risk because we can't always get it right. Anyone that says they do, I'd like to either meet them or question the truthfulness. Every now and again, oh, damn it, that didn't work out well. Of course, it happens. But not to sound flippant, that's okay. As long as we learn from it, it's okay if the overall package of the 10 or the 12 homes we're working on today do well. And for every 10 or 12, maybe there's one that's really doesn't go well, and maybe there's one that's okay, and then a few that are good, and then a few that knock it out of the park. And what's the overall story? That's how we do it. As far as how we also then bring investors into play and raise, we have a 506c that's just been going a few months, which is raising quite nicely. And it's a growth play. People that come into that 506c would be in ballpark around 4 years. You know the challenges with 506c. There's not too much I can say over the airwaves like this, but it's a growth play, great opportunity. And if people wanted to know more, they could ask us about that. And there's a very cool tax play opportunity in that if people want it as well, to do with converting traditional IRAs to Roth IRAs and a way of reducing their tax exposure. So that's a cool thing we have going on. So if people wanted to know more, they could reach out to us.
Can we actually kind of dig into that conversion? How does that work?
Okay,
There,
so this is me as a layman. I am not an
okay,
accountant, not an
absolutely.
expert, but me,
Consult
the
your
layman,
financial advisor,
yes,
consult your
exactly.
CPA. We're investors.
Exactly. Me, the layman, says this. You've got money in an IRA and you want to convert it to a Roth. Why do you want to? Because once the money is in the Roth, anything the Roth makes in the future is tax free. Problem is, the IRA is not, the money in the IRA hasn't been taxed. So if you want to make a conversion, the IRS goes, cool, no problem. But now you need to pay the tax that you haven't paid.
Hmm.
So
It's a
I'm making up
taxable event.
numbers, but you've got 100K and you're in a 40% kind of total tax band. Well, then you're going to pay a 40 grand tax bill. So you're sort of in effect netting the 60 that goes and then starts doing the work for you. 100 moves over, but that 40 is going to come from somewhere. So what's become quite common in the last 10 to 15 years, and our fund can be used for this, is you invest in something that's going to temporarily drop in value, and you want it to drop in value because you know it's only temporary. So in effect, you invest with us today at $100,000. And then what we do is we have a professional do a valuation of the fund and all of its assets at some point in the future, ballpark probably middle of next year. And what happens is it says, interesting, you bought a piece of land for $500,000 and you've spent 150,000 on architects and permits and designers and demo and all the other stuff. Money's going out the door, but you've not really got much to show for it. You've got a bit of paper and maybe there used to be a shack on that piece of land and nothing else. So it's not worth the 650 you've actually spent in total. It's only worth 500 or 550. That discount is a positive thing because then we hand over to said investor. There's a valuation saying that the 650 is not actually worth 650. It's only worth 500 or 30% discount, whatever it might be. And then they get to convert at that point or in the following months and say, the $100,000 I invested in that potential investment, that fund or whatever it might be, isn't worth $100 anymore, IRS. It's only worth $70,000. So now I only pay tax on the 70,000, but I've now got 100 over in my Roth, which will now gain, however that fund does and performs, tax-free. So I basically reduce my tax exposure. So
Very
that's the
nice.
limit of how well I can explain it. It's an optional thing. People can invest in this fund with us just because it's, in my biased opinion, a great single family diversified investment fund and a great growth play. But that's a nice piece on top. So, and then apart from that, we also do individual private investments or create little funds, etc. So we've had a few individuals invest with us over the years. Friend of a friend, a connection comes along and says, I'd like to do something. Sometimes we do a fixed term, fixed rate. It might be, you want to invest for 3 years. You don't want income. You'd rather get like a compounding growth within that. And we pre-agree a rate that whatever X is, let's just say it was 12%. Well, 12% a year for 3 years isn't 36% with compounding. It's whatever it is, 44 or something like that. We all know the power of compounding. So we have that in play for some people. And it's protected by the fact that it's an investment across our entire portfolio. So again, to sound flippant, that person doesn't care whether a particular project does well or not. They just care how we're doing overall to make sure they see their money 3 years later and that growth. Or we do joint ventures with people, but we now only do those joint ventures with some kind of fixed minimum return because I'm not comfortable with the idea of ever turning to an investor and saying, you got the unlucky one. You did actually get the 1 in 12 or whatever it might be that didn't go so well. Really sorry. Here's some of your money back, not all of it. And you're definitely not making any on top. I just don't sit right with me. I believe our job is to be the professional whilst you're getting on doing your job, being the amateur investor. So we should be taking that risk. So what we do now is offer individual investments where it's like a fixed minimum and then maybe a joint venture profit share on top.
Going back, give us a little bit of background into. Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but
My
your face
picture
is
has frozen.
frozen. Yeah, it has. You look very
Interesting.
thoughtful. So if anyone's actually
At
watching it,
least I
they'll
wasn't,
just,
scratching my
yeah,
beard or
they'll just think
picking
how
my
thoughtful you
nose.
look.
All right. I guess we'll just ignore that. But I wanted to ask you, what kind of drives you in this business? How did you start into this business? Why has this become a passion for you?
Fell into it completely unintended. So let's not make it too romantic sounding or whatever else. I had money from selling my old business, bumped into a friend who invested in real estate. Everyone says you should be invested in real estate. And I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. And I've got a friend I can trust, so maybe I can do something with him. It was that simplistic. But once I fell into it, I discovered a love for it, a passion for it. I like the fact that I get to see the fruits of my labor. So, I get to
Mm,
drive past and
yeah.
go, hey, look what we did there. It makes a difference to people. I love design. I discovered a knack for it. Again, I'll say my wife is even better than I am, but I'm pretty good. I'm
Hmm.
self-taught, pretty good, and it's hugely satisfying to be creative and play with those challenges. I also like the fact that you mentioned it earlier, health is a big thing for me. So we're slowly making our homes healthier for us as occupants because the modern home isn't particularly good for
Interesting.
us. And so I get to chip away at that piece as well. So it keeps helping me tick my health box. So it works on multiple levels for me.
What makes a home healthier for a person?
I'll tell you what makes it unhealthy. In fact, I'll try not to go too long because that could be a very long list. But we have a challenge now. We are a species that is supposed to be outdoors a lot in fresh
Yeah.
air and natural sunlight, drinking clean water, not breathing in plastics and metals and whatever else. And you can see where I'm going with this. The modern home has us indoors with unhealthy blue lighting. So let's put, blue and white light in there, which messes with our circadian rhythms and our cells and all sorts. So let's get some high quality lighting in. Where there isn't really any fresh air, well, let's improve that. Where a lot of the materials that house are built from are toxic. The paints have plastics and metals in them. Okay, let's start testing some mineral-based paints. Let's start improving the ability for air to pass through the walls to reduce the
Mm,
risk of mold. Let's make sure that our crappy tap water isn't what you're drinking. So let's put whole house water filtration systems in. And
love it.
we can't do it all overnight because I know what to do, but the $1 million house I was going to sell is now going to have to cost $2 million and nobody will buy it. So
Right.
what we're doing is just chipping away. What are the things that are big wins that aren't too expensive that will also sell well, that'll make sense to a potential buyer? And therefore, we can build those in. And this stuff gets cheaper all the time, so we can keep adding more and more health features in over time.
All right. Excellent. Daniel, how can people reach out and get in touch with you?
Email is great just to come straight to me. I'm very happy to share it. It's just Daniel at Brownstone. That's the name of the company. It was my nickname as a kid. Daniel at brownstoneci.com. So Brownstone Capital Investment. So Daniel at brownstoneci.com. If you check out Brownstone Capital Investments on Instagram, you get a feel for what we're doing on a regular basis. We try and keep that upbeat and interesting and exciting. And those are probably the best two methods to get to us.
I love it. It's great that you are so concerned about the aesthetics of your home, but not only that, but the health of your home. And you're in a great market down there in Texas. And so thank you very much for coming on the Alternative Investing Club.
Thank you.
And we will talk to you soon.